Are you looking to buy or sell a home in Fort Saskatchewan? If so, then you might want to watch this video because I'm going to be doing a deep dive on what exactly is going on in the Fort Saskatchewan real estate market by looking at the most recent statistics that are available, which is for the month of February 2022. We're about halfway through March right now, but looking back at the previous month can be really useful to see what's been happening in the market and where it looks like things are going. So we'll jump right into it and show you the report. And of course, just to let you know, I put a link in the description where you can essentially view this report online and get a copy of it to download for yourself. And that's in the description of the video. So in Fort Saskatchewan, we were looking at an average price of $403,167 in the month of February, which is actually up 3.44% from January 2022 and up 2.5% from February of 2021. Over here, you can see we've got the 13-month history for Fort Saskatchewan. A lot of ups and downs. If you've been watching my other market update videos about some of the communities around Edmonton, it is a lot more volatile if you're just looking at the average prices because there's not a whole lot of sales that happen in any given month. So if there's a very expensive property that sells or a lot of cheaper properties that sell, it can start to sort of manipulate that average price. So I would take the average prices with a grain of salt. And if you're looking to find out specifically what your home is worth or what the type of property that you're interested in might be worth, then I suggest that you actually reach out to me directly. You can reach me on my cell at 780-819-5508. You can either call me or text me, or you can email me at trevor@trevortardif.com or go to booktrevornow.com, select a time on my calendar, and I will call you. And of course, if you'd like to see all the properties that are currently available for sale in Fort Saskatchewan, I've also put a link in the description so you can see all the newest listings from top to bottom. So you just click that link and you create an account on my website and you'll be able to see all the newest listings. Okay, so keep going. You can see that, yeah, we had some ebbs and flows, but we're up in February. If we look at the average price trend for the year, this is a little bit more stable. You can see that in 2021, Fort Saskatchewan prices were up 5.27% on average. And so far in 2022, we're up 3.63%. If you compare that to Edmonton, it didn't perform quite as well as Edmonton in 2021, since Edmonton had 6.25% gain. And so far, Edmonton's up 3.34%. So as of right now, Fort Saskatchewan is slightly outperforming Edmonton for 2022. Want to keep an eye on this. We've only got 2 months of data in there so far. So as we get further into the year, we'll get better information there, which will be helpful for you as well. Okay, so if we look at what's been active and selling in Fort Saskatchewan, at the end of February, we had 74 active listings and we had a total of 65 sales throughout the month of February. So from the number of active listings, we're actually down 28.16% from January. So we've got less inventory here. And that's a common story across Edmonton and all the surrounding communities. Inventory levels are low and sales volume is quite high. So we're getting upward pressure on prices and we're getting a little bit of a crunch because there's not a whole lot of properties available. And you can see if you compare the inventory levels at the end of February here compared to last year, we've got 47.14% less inventory. And the sales volume is actually technically down a little bit from last year. We had only one other community outside of Edmonton that was like this. And I think part of the problem is because there's just not enough supply. If you look over here on the right, this basically shows you the 13-month history of the balance between how much inventory we have, the number of active listings, and the sales volume. And the more green, the more room you've got where there's more properties to choose from. Whereas you can see right here in February, since we only had 74 active listings but 65 sales, we had almost a 100% absorption rate. You can see our absorption rate was 87.84% for the month of February. So the odds of selling increased by 211% compared to January and 78% compared to February of last year. And so what does that mean, the odds of selling? Well, it's all just looking at the absorption rate. If 87% of the active listings in a month are selling in that month, there's not a whole lot of room for there to be other properties that are still left on the market. That's shifted substantially in February, just like it did everywhere else. I'll just hop back up here though, because you can see that there's very little green space here, but we had quite a bit leading up to that. And not that it was a buyer's market before, but it was much more balanced until we got into February. Like in January, for example, having 23 sold properties and 103 active listings, we were sitting around a 30% absorption rate, give or take. And then jumping up all the way to 87% is a pretty insane increase. So February was a really hot month for Fort Saskatchewan. Now you can also see here is basically just another way of showing the same information, but in an absorption rate percentage. And with us being at 87%, it's not quite as intense as some of the other markets, but it's pretty dang high, and definitely a seller's market. So you're going to be seeing more upward pressure on prices. And if you're looking to buy, you're going to need to be competitive. There's a good chance you're going to be competing with other buyers, and you might be in multiple offer situations. Some of the properties are going to be going over list price. And you want to act quickly. And one of the best ways to act quickly is to actually get on instant email updates, so that as soon as something that hits your criteria hits the market, you can see it right away and go in and try to see it that day or the next day. That's something I can set up for you if you reach out to me at 780-819-5508, or email me at trevor@trevortardif.com, or go to booktrevornow.com. Select the time on my calendar, and then I'll call you. We'll figure out what your criteria is, and I'll get you set up. So a couple other things here. The average days on market was 64 for February, which is a little bit on the higher side. But again, there's not a whole lot of properties that sell in a given month. As you can see, it's less than 100. So if we have a few that have been sitting on there for a long time, it really starts to skew that number a little bit. So technically, according to just the raw stats, the average days on market's up 52%. Compared to January, and up 28% compared to last year. But if you look at the rest of every other month leading up, we were under 60. So it's a little bit of an anomaly that we were at 64 for February. Now let's hop over and look at single family homes a little bit. That was the total residential I looked at before, but let's look at just single family homes. So the average price of a single family home in Fort Saskatchewan that sold in February was $444,492. which is up 9.75% from January and up 8.97% from February. So much higher numbers here. And this is also sort of the trend that we're seeing, that single family homes are the hottest markets right now. So you can see that we're up 9.75%. And in January, we were already up 4.43%. It's not as big of a jump as you might think, since in December, we showed a 10% drop. And again, that's just because of the sales volume. We probably had some cheaper properties selling in December, which then made January and February look more intense than they actually were. But if we look at the average price trend for single family homes, in 2021, we were up just over 7%. And so far in 22, we're up 5.54%. So they are definitely going up in value. You compare that to Edmonton, it's pretty dang close for 2021. And it's actually so far outperforming Edmonton in 2022. Now, this is where things get interesting. You can see that we had 48 active listings for single family homes at the end of the month in Fort Saskatchewan, and we had 53 sales. So we actually had more sales than we had active listings at the end of the month, which represents a listing absorption rate over 100%, 110%. We've been seeing this in a lot of other communities. We are redlining for single family homes. The market is eating them up really quickly. Stuff is selling very quickly, and that's gonna keep putting upward pressure on prices until the situation changes. Last year in February, March, we had a pretty strong absorption rate, over 61% last February, then over 82% in March. We were still at, I think, about 80% in April, and then it dropped pretty significantly in May and June. It popped up a little bit more. Still decent numbers though. It's not like it was desolate and you couldn't sell a house. Sitting at an absorption rate around 30% is still a strong market. So it stayed strong all throughout last year, but it really spiked here in February, where we're just selling houses faster than we're listing them, essentially. The average days on market for single family homes was 57 days, which is still technically up from last month and last year, but I wouldn't take too much stock in that. I think there's probably just a few properties that have been on the market for a really long time. They were probably overpriced and put a big days on market there, but overall you can see the market's really hot for single family homes. Now if we hop over to condos, the average price for condos in Fort Saskatchewan was $220,650, which is technically down 14% since January. And again, I would not put any weight on these numbers for condos, because as you can see, there was only 12 condos that sold in all of February and 26 active listings. So each one of those sales is going to have a massive impact on your average price. So it's almost silly to take that average price and think that means much on its own. Last year in 2021, we recorded just over a 9% loss on average price for condos. And so far we're up 9.51%. So those two pretty much cancel each other out. Again, it's probably a little bit skewed just because there's not a lot of condos in there. But this is where you can see the condo market significantly different than the single family home market. And that's what made the market as a whole not look quite as intense as when we just looked at single family homes, because the condo side is putting a little bit more of a drag on the market, but still seeing a massive increase in basically the absorption rate. Because you can see all throughout last year, we had lots of green and our absorption rates were pretty much buyer's market territory all last year, except for maybe in August and September, it moved into a little bit more balanced, but still pretty friendly to buyers. But in February, with us jumping up to 12 sales and only 26 active listings, our absorption rate jumped up to 46%. So that's a big change. Again, it's such a small market, so just getting a handful more sales literally can change the balance of the market like that. So it's a lot more sensitive to that. And the average days on market, 94 in February. So Fort Saskatchewan was a little unique this month where we had a lot of high average days on market. Looks like last year in August and September, we were pushing 100 days on market for condos. So it's a much different picture if you're selling a condo in Fort Saskatchewan compared to single family homes. But still, just seeing February was a super strong month for condos. So we're going to be keeping an eye on condos in Fort Saskatchewan because that market is definitely shifting. Now, if you're looking to buy or sell a home in Fort Saskatchewan or any of the surrounding communities like Edmonton, Beaumont, Spruce Grove, Leduc, St. Albert, I can definitely help you with that. And you can reach out to me at 780-819-5508 or email me at trevor@trevortardif.com. or go to booktrevornow.com and select the time on my calendar, and we'll do a free consultation and go from there. Now, of course, if you'd like to see all the active properties that are for sale in Fort Saskatchewan, I've put a link in the description so you can sign up on my website, see all the newest listings, plus get emailed once a day whenever there's new listings that hit the market. So I hope this was useful to you. Make sure to like and subscribe. I am trying to get to 500 subscribers and I could really use your help and support. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell, and I will see you on the next video.